Wiener, 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 wiener,
One
wiener,
wiener next to another wiener.
wiener, wiener,
Two wieners alongside yet another wiener.
wiener party, wiener party, 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 wiener party.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Registered Nerd Podcast. I'm GuiltySpark.
I'm Snackpacks.
Webbed.
And I think we're just going to talk about the first 3 episodes of Game of Thrones today, season 8, which is kind of weird because we're halfway through the season, which is weird to think about. It's such a short season.
So it's a mid-season review.
This is a mid-season review. 3 episodes in. It's hard to believe it's half over. But I think the season started really strong. At least, and I don't mean the whole first episode, but I think that intro where Dany's army was coming into Winterfell and the dragons were kind of freaking everyone out, and you had that parallel between the season 1, episode 1, where it was almost like Bran, you know, the small child was excited to see the army coming and was running through the crowd. I thought that was a pretty cool way to start everything off.
Yeah. Before we start, actually talking about each episode, what is your, I guess, initial, if you were to give the season so far a rating out of 10, what would you give it?
Oh.
Web?
5.
5.
He's writing this down, and
Yes,
I don't know why. I'm kind of afraid.
I just want to see. I want to see if when after we discuss it, if your opinion changes at all.
Okay.
Webbed.
I'm a little higher. I mean, I'd say a 7. It doesn't. It's not been perfect, but I don't think it's as bad as what I've read on some other people's
Well,
reactions.
it's been very up and down, I think, and it's hard to judge because we're only halfway through the season. But I think a lot of the moment-to-moment things have been pretty good. A lot of the conversations and a lot of the atmosphere, but I think a lot of the big moments have fallen really flat. So I think that's why I'm kind of neutral with a 5. What about you, Snacks?
I'm right with you with a 5. My personal views of the first 2 episodes were that they were okay, and then this 3rd episode I really, really did not like.
Yeah, I it's weird because I liked it, and we don't want to jump too far ahead, but I liked it while I was watching it. But there were little things, and as soon as I started to really look back and think about it, there were a lot of things that I was like, wow, that was actually pretty bad. But the start of the season, like we said, we had kind of almost a big version. They've done a couple, it was very fan servicey, but they've done a couple episodes and moments in the show where characters that have never really met or maybe haven't seen each other for a long time kind of get together. And the first episode kind of felt like a whole episode of that, like characters that have never met interacting for the first time. Oh, we get to see how, Jaime and Daenerys would talk, or we get to see the kind of consequences is how is Bran going to react to seeing Jaime, and how does Arya react to seeing Jon after so long, that was a great scene when they met under the weirwood tree. But it's very fan servicey, but I was really okay with it because as the first episode of the last season, it felt earned and it felt appropriate. I think there was a little bit too much of that in episodes 2 and 3, but
Yeah, I think they stretched that out into 2 episodes,
and it really only needed to be
1. That's kind of it would be different. I think I might have even felt different if this was a full on 10 episode season where it's okay, you kind of have
more time.
You got more time, but you made us wait 2 years. You only have 6 episodes. Get on with it.
Yeah, there's no time to fuck around.
It's hard too because we're going completely off the books now, right? We don't have books to go off of.
Well, supposedly Martin told them how it ends. Now, maybe this is all a big fake out. Maybe...
Wait, but how much of the major and minor plot points did he tell them? Just I've
It's
heard
hard.
that too, but
we don't
when
know.
you say
And
you
we
know
have
the
no way to
ending,
know. Right.
how much of the little details?
Right, and we have
this
no way to
person
know.
dying and that person.
And he
doing
could
this
very
and
well
that.
change it. I mean, if he gave them a roadmap 5 years ago, he's a writer. He changes stuff as he goes all the time.
Well, and he'll tell you that. He says that in his interviews, with characters they evolved over time to be something completely different than what he originally intended them to be. He talked about how Jamie was always supposed to be a villain in the books, and he eventually wrote kind of like a when he started building his back. Yeah, he humanized him and kind of gave him a bit of a redemption arc.
Yeah, I thought not a lot happened in episode 1. Like we said, it was a lot of people getting together and talking, but I don't have a lot really I could say about it. I'm trying to think of particular moments that are worthy of comment.
I liked the moment where Sansa told Tyrion, "I used to think you were one of the smartest people."
That was good.
Well, that's funny. That's a good point, because Tyrion was one of the smartest characters, and in the last season they wrote him to be as such an idiot, and some of it wasn't his fault, because some of the things that happened shouldn't have been able to. Euron's teleporting navy, going from one side of the Westeros to the other. In old Game of Thrones, that would have taken them 5 episodes to travel, and now Euron is just teleporting. I mean, Tyrion can't outsmart the writers of the show when they're just going to throw impossible obstacles in his path.
Right. It's like they had to nerf him or something. I don't know.
Well, that's what it felt like, because when Dany landed with 3 dragons and the Unsullied and the Dothraki, and I remember thinking, Cersei has nothing. She doesn't have the North. She doesn't have the Knights of the Vale. She doesn't have the Riverlands. She doesn't have Dorne. So at the time, and she didn't have the Reach. So at the time, Cersei had the Crown Lands, the Stormlands, and the Westlands. She had 3 kingdoms out of, and arguably the Iron Islands. So she had 3 kingdoms out of 7, and everyone else was closing in on her with dragons and more troops. And you're right. It's almost like the writers had to go, well, how do we realistically keep Cersei in this fight? And the answer was, we can't. We can unrealistically keep her in it by just having things happen that make no sense.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, I think that's,
That was my biggest frustration with the last season.
The last season, I was really frustrated. I thought it was really the whole fake out with Littlefinger. I didn't like that at all. Well, I thought it would have been just more, would have been more deserved if Tyrion outplayed Littlefinger or Varys.
Well, I think for both of us too, like, Littlefinger is one of our favorite characters, and at least in the books.
In the books, he's one of my favorite characters.
And early in the show,
in the early episodes of the show, I really liked Littlefinger.
And I don't like him because I'm a good guy. Like, he's a good guy. Don't misunderstand me.
No, I
liked him just because he was so clever, and he always like the way he thought about everything. Even when he told Sansa, and this was late, like, fight every battle all the time in your mind. Don't basically get outsmarted by anyone. Always expect everyone to betray you, and you'll never be surprised. Like, he was very wise until the end.
Yeah, because they didn't follow his own advice.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, the first episode was fine. All the fan servicey, everyone meeting up, whatever. And, doing the Daenerys running into Sam and kind of making him, like,
that was a
melt down enough to want to go, like, stomp around and run into Bran and have Bran be like, no, dude, you gotta go talk to Jon, kind of a thing. Like, again, it still didn't make sense as to why he was hiding out and never ran into Jon before that. But
right.
I was talking to Snacks earlier, like, it's a TV show, so there's going to be some unrealistic things that the writers do to just kind of make stuff work. And to a degree, you have to let a little bit of that go.
Right, but it's just frustrating because they didn't have to do that when they were following Martin's books, right? Because his books are not that way.
Right.
I mean, that was
and
always
they didn't. You know what I mean? Yeah. They cut out a couple things, but they cut out a couple things because they kind of had to for the sake of time. But yeah, so it is still annoying, and I try to let it go, just saying that that's the reason why, right? They have to find a way to make this work, and they don't have the books to go off of anymore. So it was okay. And the reveal and the crypts and stuff, that seemed meaningful. Yeah, I still, even after him telling Daenerys who he is, and am very curious. Like, that was one of the biggest plot points this season that I want to know how it plays out, because everyone, I mean, Snacks and I predicted back when we read the books before the TV show got anywhere near this point, that we thought that theory of Jon being a Targaryen or being the son of Rhaegar and Lyanna was legit.
Oh yeah, I've always thought that.
So the big question for me now is, how is that going to play out in the show? How are they going to choose to do it? You're like, yeah, they've revealed to him and now to Daenerys, but neither of them have really reacted in any significant way.
And I think that's what we're going to get.
Because they can't, because they had to fight the Night King, right?
And I think we'll get that in the next episode, is we'll get how they're going to move forward from that.
A lot of my judgment is being reserved for when some of that plays out, because I really...
And maybe that last 3 episodes will have something really awesome like that, and something will play out, and it'll all pay off in the end. But so far, my overall feeling is I'm underwhelmed by this.
And Jon being Jon at the end of episode 2, Jon being honorable, stupid Jon. Like, I love his character, but I hate him sometimes. That was not the time.
Right.
Tell Dany.
Right, yeah.
Because number 1, you could both be dead and it won't matter. Or number 2, you're just going to have her thinking about this during the most important battle of anyone's lives. And you don't do that. Like, if you're a coach or a teacher, you don't get in someone's head right before they need to be focused completely on what they're doing. That really bothered me, but it also kind of fits with his character, at least his character in the show. He would do that. He'd be like, well, before we die, you need to know the truth about this.
It's like the honorable Ned Stark trait,
Exactly.
Like yeah,
it's his biggest character flaw. Like, it's great guy, but also his biggest character flaw is that he just can't let things go, even for a little bit of time.
On a show called Game of Thrones, where you're literally playing a manipulation game that's life or death,
he's terrible at it.
Yeah.
He's where he is in spite of that trait, not because of it.
Well, a lot of it's because he was removed from a lot of things, up in the wall for a lot of the... But anyway, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, and then my other thought is, the Night King is at least one of the big bads, right? Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point, is because I was thinking, now after this episode, and the Night King didn't go down completely like a bitch. I mean, he had his moment with the dragon and the fire, where I don't know if that really faked anyone in the world out, where she blasts him with fire, and like, he's still going to be there. It's like that scene in Independence Day where they nuke the spaceship, and you're like, as soon as the debris settles, he's going to be fine.
We're only like 45 minutes into this movie right now.
It's like, no, it's not the end.
But I still feel it was a little underwhelming, like how he went down.
It was. We'll get there.
We'll see how it goes in the books too. But even in the books, the very first, they did it in the show. They kind of followed the books in that manner. The very first thing you read or watch when you enter the world of Westeros is Rangers going north of the wall and getting ambushed by these otherworldly, unstoppable death beings.
Right.
And it's like, how do you overcome that kind of a thing? And they tried to really sell that in this episode. I'll give them that, but still just kind of weird to me. I don't know.
This is why I wonder,
I'm really torn.
Was the Night King never the big threat? Was it always the prophecy and everything? Was it always relating to Cersei?
What prophecy?
The whole prophecy of Azor Ahai, or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't mention the Night King by name. It just talks about the darkness. And honestly,
well, the internet has been talking. Azor Ahai, they said that he's supposed to come back to help fight the others, which the others, according to the first one, were always.
I read the prophecy. I read the prophecy before, and I never saw any. I don't remember.
I think it mentions the others when I last was reading something. The others being the White Walkers. So that's the internet's talking. Then that would make Arya Azor Ahai, right?
Even though nothing about her life matches with the prophecy, even remotely.
Well, that's why this is where the show could have even fucked up. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but. So yeah, I mean, there's a few things.
But do you think, that's something they've been teasing? This is why I question it. Because is that something that you could tease for 7 seasons You talk about the prophecy continuously and just be like, oh no, we're gonna forget about the prophecy.
But that's why I think Snacks was saying, like, you only have 6 episodes, and this is kind of how we do it, and like the first 2 are kind of like really slow paced, and then they kind of rush everything in this one, even though it was an hour and a half episode.
According to the prophecy, the one who was promised, the one who was prophesied savior of the religion of Raylor, who is the reincarnation of legendary hero Azor Ahai, is destined to lead the people against a darkness by wielding a flaming sword called Lightbringer. That hasn't happened, like, and maybe it won't, I don't know, but like that wasn't that, and it's just the darkness. Is Cersei the darkness? Because that's the only way that I think this episode can be redeemed, where, John always talked about this was the Great War, but what if this wasn't the Great War? What if the Great War is actually the war against Cersei and how evil she is? I don't know. I'm just trying to find a way from a storytelling perspective that they can redeem what went down in episode 3. Because for all the spectacle, it was really unsatisfying.
I don't know, unless their message is like, because Cersei's not anywhere near as like much of a, at least overtly big. Like, yeah, she's fucking crazy, but
bad
for
the White Walkers are a force of nature,
right?
You know what I mean?
Like,
yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I'm saying, like, how can they fix this? What they've done.
The episode even literally shows like a wall of undead like crashing into the army, right? So like that's what I'm saying is, like, you would think that would be what the prophecy's about, but maybe it's supposed to be about Jon and Daenerys' ability to bring a just world to the people of Westeros or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay, so now that we've kind of covered episode 1 and 2, and we can always go back, but I want to talk about battle tactics in episode 3 and how they were absolutely unforgivably bad. This is a show that, like, especially recently, Battle of the Bastards, we've seen a lot of bad battle tactics. The whole plan was terrible. The execution was terrible. They had 100,000 Dothraki screamers. They say, right? They have 100,000 Dothraki riders.
I don't think it's that many.
That's what Jamie said. Or someone said that. I don't know. She has a lot of Dothraki, okay? There were a lot in front when they lit up all the swords. They were sent out to die for no reason. That's not how you use cavalry in medieval conflict. You do not just charge your cavalry. Especially
cavalry don't charge first, do they?
Well, they're
like that.
So light cavalry, you can charge an enemy line with heavy cavalry, guys that have spears and armored horses, and you can try to break a line. You then immediately turn around. If it doesn't work, if you do not break the line, you turn. That's the whole point of cavalry, is they're heavy but they can move. Light cavalry, the Dothraki are light cavalry. They carry swords, they carry bows,
and they're unarmored.
You know what you do with light cavalry? You harass the enemy, and you also, when there's a moment when the enemy is starting to break, if they are engaged with your infantry, then you hit them from the sides.
Right,
That's flank them. You flank them, and you pincer and you hit.
Isn't that like Return of the King, like when the cavalry comes in from the side?
Absolutely, really good. Like those cavalry, that's what you do. You have a line that's all focused on one thing, and all of a sudden they get hit from the side, they panic. Now, the value of shock troops like cavalry and stuff against undead that do not panic is of limited value. Compared to, if you were fighting humans. But I know they did it all for the shot. The shot was beautiful. Their swords were on fire. You saw them go into the darkness, and one by one you saw all of the swords blink out. Beautiful shot. Makes no sense as far as why you would just throw away.
It was also a source for, like, making, like, it's like Daenerys is now triggered,
right,
like,
because she lost
like,
all of her
because she's
Dothraki.
standing there, they're supposed to be waiting for the Night King, and then it's like, all her screamers are dead, and she's like, those are my people, I have to go, and Jon Snow's like, don't go, we have to wait, and she's like, fuck you,
and
Jon.
she flies off.
Yeah.
But as far as just an idea, like, what did they hope to possibly fucking accomplish by just throwing those men out there? Like, you would be better off having them up on the walls with archery. Point number 2. There were almost no arrows in this. I figured they would be making dragon glass arrows like there were no tomorrow and just firing massive volleys into the dead. At best, we saw a fire arrow here or there. I was really shocked by how little archery there was in this episode.
It brought me out of the episode immediately because I was watching on a break at work, and as soon as they lit the pit, First of all, why didn't they dig it deeper? You had dragons.
Yeah,
You had dragons. Dig the fucking pit deeper. Like, come
absolutely. But it wasn't even really a pit. It was almost just like they kept calling it a pit, but it was like a barrier just covered in wood and the sharp, sharp dragon glass.
But when the dead stopped right there, and all the people, the archers on the walls, stopped firing, I'm like, they're stationary targets.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
This is the perfect time to just hit them with volleys of arrows.
I was like, this is. It took me right out of the episode. I was like, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yep. The trebuchets and the other siege weapons being in front of the Unsullied instead of either behind the Unsullied or better yet,
Foxy Clean texted me and he goes, "Who puts their ballistas there
in the front? You put them. Anybody that's ever played Age of Empires 2 knows. You put that shit behind your wall.
Why not even put a few of them behind the walls?
Dude, I have no idea. It made no sense because you saw early on those ballistas were doing way more damage than the Dothraki were. Like they were hitting and with fire, just exploding huge amounts of the dead.
Why did they not have any like fire pitch to pour over the sides when the zombies are running up the wall?
Yeah. That was something we brought
That's
up
something
too.
that is in the books
we're
too.
5 minutes into the battle and everything has been wrong. And it's like, I understand you want to do some things for drama, but this show was always about a certain level of realism with how, I know there's dragons and magic. We're looking past that. But it doesn't mean just because there's dragons and magic doesn't
we're not
mean you
looking
shouldn't
for
take
realism. We're looking for like
consistency
in the world.
The realism thing that I liked about this show up until this point is, again, when they were following the books, what I liked about what Martin did is the good guy doesn't just win,
Right.
The guy like Jon, because Robb Stark was kind of like Jon, he wants to do the
everybody
right thing.
loved him.
He ended up falling in love with the wrong girl, but he still wanted to do right by the Frey, so he goes and does the honorable thing and shows up at the wedding where they marry off his uncle instead. And he fucking dies for it. And that is something like, take Star Wars, for example. Luke Skywalker in all the expanded universe books, even when it looks dire, he still comes through at the end and he wins,
right.
And he triumphs over evil. And this book, like, that's what hooked me, is I started reading these on the recommendation. And you get to the first book was pretty slow at times, right? And I was like, but you get to the end and they behead Ned and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then you're like, where's the next book? I gotta read this shit.
People can die in these books because that's what would happen in real life.
Right,
but
I consider that a degree of realism.
And it's
right?
awesome. That's what I mean. They don't have the
I
character
know there's dragons,
shields.
I know there's magic, but that, so why?
And the best part of Game of Thrones was never the dragons and the magic. The best part was the politics and people trying to outthink each other and form alliances and break alliances. I mean, you can get the same kind of thing when you watch like The Tudors or a show like that that's based on history.
But maybe that's why this falls apart, because we aren't talking about making the alliances are already made.
That part's over, and that's what I
now
find
you just have to fight a battle against an undead enemy, and maybe they just.
But you should still use. You're supposed to have all of these, people that are great warriors and have fought in all these battles, and it's like they could have still made it as dramatic with as many people dying, but had the battle set up in a way that was logical. And that's what really bothered me, is that just like in Battle of the Bastards, when Jon Snow ran against an army with his sword out, made for a great shot, was really stupid. And Jon's army, they, at the beginning, they were talking about their tactics. Okay, we're going to dig these trenches so they can't flank us. We've got our archers here. We've got, and then that goes out the window when he just runs out there. And again, this is Jon being kind of an idiot. But the Boltons actually had very strong tactics. I mean, they had a shield wall. Where are those Bolton shields against the undead? Those shield walls would be...
Boltons are dead.
But their shields are all sitting in that field. Those were all northern soldiers with their long spears. I mean, the Bolton soldiers were all men of the north. They're like, we know these tactics. You make a shield wall, you have a long, spear with dragon glass at the end. The Unsullied kind of do it, but the Unsullied have these little tiny shields. If they had the Bolton shields that you can stick into the ground and you've got 3 layers of spears.
Kite shield.
Yeah. That's exactly what they did against against Jon's army. They had it completely encircled and they were just slowly moving in on it. You can't get away from it. The Boltons actually used really good tactics until the Knights of the Vale. Hey, cavalry coming in when the enemy, infantry is vulnerable and smashing into them at full speed, and you get them to run. There were actually decent tactics in that battle, I will say, but not by Jon and his army,
Yeah, well, you don't need good tactics when. I think maybe that's something too. Is maybe they're trying to say like, oh, well, we have dragons, right? So, but then the Night King summons this veil of fog and snow, and
Right.
they can't see shit. So their whole dragon tactic went out the window. If the
I
dragon,
question the utility. I know the whole plan was to draw him in, and again, maybe that's why they were outside the wall. It's hard to say, but I just wasn't impressed with the whole plan.
It just took forever to draw him out.
Let's talk about how people died. So
before we do that, real quick, one side note.
Okay.
Talking about weird things that happen. In relation to the dragons, I noticed that in the preview for the next week, it looks like both Drogon and Rhaegal survived.
Yep,
right?
both the dragons are alive.
Okay, so you can tell that Drogon survived because he's there with Daenerys at the end of the episode, like, "Aww,
Right.
sad Daenerys." Okay, but
Rhaegal was
Rhaegal
injured.
crashes into the ground like hard, and
I
and
don't
Jon
think-
goes flying, and then I'm like, "Is Rhaegal dead?
No.
Or like, what's going on?"
See,
and like
my
they
wife and I-
never show it.
My wife and I were debating that. She thought Rhaegal was dead. I'm like, no, I think he took the brunt of the Night King's dragon. Like, he got bit up, clawed up, and he hit the ground really hard. But I don't think he's dead. And obviously,
there were still a bunch of undead running around out there, and they showed Drogon getting swarmed by undead and having to fly away from Daenerys. in order
it's
to shake
because
them
they
off.
were going after Dany, and I think
But
Jon
don't
had
you
run
think-
pretty far
Don't
from
you
him.
think they would have killed Rhaegal if he was laying hurt and vulnerable out there?
I think they were focused. I mean, maybe.
Again,
I
this
don't
is
have
just
such
a weird
big.
inconsistency in the show. Is
I
all
don't
I'm
have a
saying.
huge
That's
problem
all I'm trying
because
to point out.
I think where he crashed, there weren't necessarily a ton of dead right there.
All I'm saying is that it just didn't make a lot.
It's also possible that he was able to take off again. Like, he got knocked to the ground
True,
and he
but
was
then
able.
where the fuck did he go?
Well, if we're talking about disappearing characters, where the fuck is Ghost?
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
where did Ghost go?
I actually thought about that too.
I swear to God, the
he
show
ran in with the Dothrakis.
Yeah,
so is
exactly.
He dead?
I don't know.
The show forgets about Ghost, but then remembers him just to
but
piss
they
me
do
off
that.
with
They
stuff.
do that with Ghost all the time on this show.
Ghost was he was like
Ghost,
not
Ghost
even in the
has
whole
been
season.
MIA for like all of last season and all of this season up until just now. Like,
And am I wrong? Have we ever
I-
gotten a scene with Dany interacting with Ghost at all?
No,
Never. We have not.
Well, I was talking to my wife after watching week 2 together. Like, we watched it right when it aired, and I said, I have not seen Ghost in forever. Did he die? Like, where the fuck is he? And then he was at the beginning of this episode, and I was like, oh, there he is. And he ran with the screamers, and then...
Which, again,
Nothing.
you want to talk about we're just throwing things away and assets away. Like, I thought it would have been way cooler if Ghost had been with Bran. He would have done more good there.
Right.
Like, instead of just running into an enemy line, like, that's actually a place where,
With the guy that
dads
can
are-
actually warg into creatures.
there's a lot of potential there, and it
Yeah.
just was wasted.
I know.
And when Bran said, I have to go, and he goes into the Ravens and just flies around, he didn't... What did Bran do?
Nothing.
Like, Bran got all these powers, and other than, like, confirming what everyone knew about the dead, like, I'm trying to think of one thing that Bran did that the story, other than be like, okay, we lure the Night King here. Like, what else did Bran accomplish? He didn't really...
He made Hodor retarded.
He accomplished that. He made Hodor retarded. You're absolutely right.
I mean,
sorry to interrupt, Snacks, but this is my thought. The thought popped into my head about. I jogged my memory. So this is what I was thinking when I was watching it. Right. So Bran was marked by the Night King.
So the Night King knows where he is.
And Bran was saying, didn't he say in the second episode that like the Night King wants me, kind of a thing? We have to draw him to me
To erase
blah,
the
blah,
memory of the world.
Okay, maybe that was it then. To
Yeah.
erase the memory of the world, but why does the Night King care that much about Bran
and
the
again,
memory
if
of the
we
world?
knew-
If he's a retarded kid in a chair,
You're right. They never really fleshed out the Night King, which is part of the reason why this episode felt... I mean, I thought he was at least going to say something to Dany after the fire from the dragon. I was like, here's the moment. He never talks, but here's the moment for him to say something. Nope. This is a character that has had no dialogue. The only thing we know about his motivations is from other people, and we just got that kind of thing in the last episode. Like, with this in episode 69, we got that he wants to erase the world of men and erase the memory of the world. We don't get why. I mean,
Right.
you know, and you can kind of dig into it a little bit more if you read the books.
Other
but,
than he's just death and he wants
right.
to kill the living.
You know, bring a winter that
and it's
never
like what
ends.
payback for them creating him, you know? Or
But it wasn't. But it was even it was the children of the forest that created him. You know, I mean, very, very strange.
But the children of the forest are of the living. So now
That's true.
Now his enemy is just the living in general, right?
That's true.
Didn't they say too? I'm almost positive. I swear I heard it that someone said that he died at the tree that he was created at, right?
Yeah.
Didn't John make that comment or somebody?
They showed it. They showed it in the show.
No.
children-
They showed him being created tied to a were tree
Yeah.
in the show way back in the day, like before
Right.
Winterfell would have existed, right?
Yeah.
I swear, maybe I read it somewhere, but I thought I heard it in the show that someone made a comment, you know, which it's been speculated before if that's the were tree that he was created at, but I thought someone kind of confirmed it in the show. One of the
at
characters,
Winterfell?
that he was created at the Winterfell tree.
That I don't know. I have no idea. That might just be speculation.
Yeah.
But okay, well, talking about character deaths.
One of the things I was gonna just bring up, because I know you said before we talk about character deaths,
or
Webb,
lack of deaths, I should say.
Webb was talking about how, you know, it's a show, we're trying to give it a little bit of leeway for things that are not explained. My thing is like, you are a writer, there is a way to figure out to explain something. Like saying it's a show.
And it doesn't have to be a voodoo
doesn't
shark
have-
either. It doesn't
right.
have to be completely stupid.
Right.
Well, all I
Well,
was
I'm
saying
saying
about
like if you're saying like, okay, so why didn't Sam go see John first thing? Why was he wandering around Winterfell? And it's like, you could have just had a throwaway line where Sam's like, look, I've been scouring the library for anything that can help us.
Yeah.
Before I go to John. Throwaway line, 2 seconds.
Totally true.
You know what I'm saying?
I think they just, you know, for the sake of time, is kind of a lot of how that goes. At least in these writers' minds, they're like I read something online that talked about, you know, people were like, well, where was Arya when she left the Great Hall with Melisandre and the Hound? Where did she go in between then and just popping out of nowhere to kill the Night King, right? I think the writers will argue anyway that, you know, there's no way for us to show everything. So
Yeah, but that is a good point, because someone showed that were tree is in the middle of that area. There's no wall. It almost looked like she jumped off a wall. There's no wall anywhere close to that.
She flew out of the sky.
She came out of from where all of his generals were, the actual White Walkers. She came from that direction because she came from behind him. And when he walked in, he walked through the gate with the White Walkers all around him. The dead were surrounding the whole place. And I mean, again, I understand we can just say, well, it's a show, and we'll kind of let that go. But that could have been done. She could have come from somewhere. She could have been up in the tree.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, that would have been. I would have preferred that if she was hiding
Just
up in
waiting.
the tree and just dropped down on him.
Yeah.
That would have been more preferable. I would have, even if they didn't show us how she got there, I would have been like, oh, that's where she was.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where she went.
right.
You know,
No,
but
and I agree with you. I mean, I think that there are things that they should explain better, and they could put just that little bit of extra effort in. I
still
think
can't
that's
get
just
over
how they're going to argue.
I can't get over that they didn't use any archers from up on the walls, but the guys that were defending Bran are using bows at point blank range.
I did notice
in the
that,
werewood.
too.
I'm like, okay, now we're using arrows,
No,
like
if you
not
did-
when they're 100 yards
the
away.
The scene when the dead finally does show up in the Godswood, like for the first time, and Theon's like, "All right, we have to attack." You know, if you watch that scene closely, the undead like get about this close to the archers before the archers let loose.
Yeah.
And then they immediately cut to like another area of the battle.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know if the cinematography, you know, if the team just thought like,
this is
and
a cool shot.
no one's gonna fucking notice.
It's gonna be moving. It's gonna be moving.
It was shitty. It was shittily done. Like that.
That's what I'm saying.
The way it was
moving.
shot-
It was moving too fast for anyone to really care.
Right.
Right.
Is
So
what they're saying.
is that what they thought? Did they
Probably.
think like, oh, the audience won't really notice like how senseless that was? You know.
I
But
think they were
noticed.
hoping for a lot of that. I think that's why the episode was so dark. All right, who died first? What's his buddy from?
Dollar said.
Yeah. His death.
Who?
Dolores.
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 Yeah.
I don't know.
Dolores. I call him Dolores.
Dolores
sounds like a girl's name.
It is a girl's name. He got killed. He got killed saving Sam, kind of.
I mean, I knew that was going to happen. As soon as he saved Sam, I was like, oh, goodbye.
Yep, he's about to die. That was very telegraphed. It was fine. This is a character that has not done much. I mean, he's one of those characters, he pops up and you go, oh yeah, I remember him. And then he's out,
He's like a Sam, but he's just not even anywhere near as born as Sam.
And he's actually, right now, he's actually he was the leader of the Night's Watch. So, yeah, he's the commander.
He was the Lord Commander.
Lord Commander. So he does.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they made him Lord Commander after John fucked off. But which is kind of cool. I mean, he had a little arc, and he died fighting. He was doing what I've got no complaints about him. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing. There were a lot of times where Brienne and Jamie and all these other characters were completely swamped. Yeah, Pod,
and they're just surviving.
And they survived. It's like,
that earlier.
I know they've got armor, but damn.
No, that was one of my bigger complaints about how this was shot too. Was I said that to Snacks earlier. That was one of my first things I said to him. They keep panning back to them as it was almost like their transition shot in between each main event. It's like main event happens, transition to the battle fighting in the courtyard with Brienne and Jamie and Pod and some of those people, and it's like they're constantly just surrounded, and it's like, how are they alive but all these other people are dying?
Back to battle tactics. Exactly. We're watching the episode 3 right now, the battle, as we record this, and everybody came into the walls and I guess just stood around with their dicks in their hands in the courtyard, because once the zombies started to get across the fire pit, somebody has to yell, man the walls, and everyone rushes up to the walls. What, you had something better to do? The walls should have already been manned, and then they start firing arrows once the zombies start crossing the fire trench. And like Snacks said, they could have been doing that this whole time. It's like, what are you, on a break? We get through the whole fight, and then you can take your break.
They need their mandatory 15-minute break.
Union break.
I guess. OSHA is very powerful in Winterfell. But, okay, so who else died?
Lyanna Mormont.
Lyanna Mormont. She actually had...
I liked her death.
I get it.
Liked it.
I get it. Hillary won the popular vote. I get it. Lyanna...
Did you watch the insight into the episode after the episode aired?
No.
The writer...
I don't like my opinion to be colored.
The two red our lead guys on the show said that she was supposed to be just a one-off character.
And everybody loved her, and she outwore her welcome.
Were supposed to show... Or John and Sansa were supposed to show up and be like, we need help in the north, and she was supposed to just be the token Mormont,
right.
My mom died in fighting for you guys, and we don't really know if we want to help you, and that was it. But they really liked the actress, so they...
She had a great first scene when she was in there talking about, when they made John the King. She had a good scene. After that, she really outwore her welcome with me. It's like, you have 20 guys. You're not important. Every time we have a meeting in the Great Hall, we don't need to hear the Mormont's opinion. You have 20 guys. You're a lesser lord. And she would always get out there and be like, oh, this, that.
You just don't like strong women.
I don't like strong women, I guess. I don't know.
Misogynist.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that she's incredibly obnoxious. I mean, whatever. She died doing something, which was fine. She killed that giant.
Yeah, but that's what they said. Because she became so popular, I think, with viewers, they gave her the
absolutely.
epic death.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's all. That's pandering to the viewers. Absolutely.
Well, they admitted as such.
Yeah.
It was cool.
The fact that we only saw
epic.
one giant was really disappointing. We saw the one when the Dothraki rode in.
I was hoping for some ice spiders.
Oh man, that would have been cool if they brought in the ice spiders. But just the one giant, really, we've seen one giant fight. It would be cool if there were multiples. But Lyanna Mormont killed the giant. They killed what's her name? Lisa Karstark? You're gonna know her name, Snacks. You know everyone's name.
Which one?
Karstark, the redheaded girl. Her brother went up to Last Hearth and was killed. He was pinned to the
Oh.
wall. She was with Bran in the Godswood, but she died off screen. They didn't even give her.
I was gonna say I don't even remember that.
She was marching with Bran to the Godswood.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of, she wasn't a great actress, so whatever. So she's dead. Who did you say?
Well, I said Lyanna Mormont.
Lyanna Mormont. Jorah. Jorah's death was fine.
I was kind of laughing because
Well, you know that was how he was going to
when I was watching the episode, and he's protecting Daenerys. It almost looked like she threw him in front of her in one part of the scene. You'll see later if we get to that part of the
Okay, because
episode.
I don't remember that.
Because there's a part in it where I don't know if it's just the way the light was, but it looked like she went like this and put him in front of her.
I mean,
It looks
is kind of his job.
It is kind of his job.
take this stab wound from me.
Yeah.
But I was like, she did this, and also he gets stabbed right here, and you're like, oh,
he's in armor. She's wearing a very fashionable fur coat.
yes.
So,
Which again, why would you wear a fur coat to battle instead of some armor?
well, especially when it, like, I would imagine it could catch on fire pretty easy, and you're going to be fighting a dragon.
Well, she's immune to fire.
She's not, though. They go back and forth on that. She's not supposed to be immune to fire. George R. R. Martin has said she is not immune to fire. She has, like, a slightly higher tolerance to being warm than, like, other people. But, like, he said that scene where she burns, like, with the Dothraki, where she burns that, like, that could not happen in the books because she would die.
Yeah.
The reason her doing the dragon rebirth thing was like
blood
that was all
magic.
like blood magic and a spell. Like that wasn't just how she is. Like, and the reason is like Targaryens are not immune to fire. Targaryens burn all the time. Like I just read the Dance of Dragons. I say just, it was a while ago, but like Targaryens get
Killed
fucking
by fire
mutilated
all
and
the
yeah,
time.
the one king,
he drank wildfire
that didn't work out for him at all
because he thought it would make him a dragon.
Yeah, and a couple of them in their dragon battles got burned. And I remember the one
wasn't
almost
it Summer
died.
Hall? Summer Hall was what burned down and killed
Yeah,
Aegon.
yeah, I think so. I
And
don't know. I got to
Sir-
reread it.
Was it Sir Duncan that died in Summer Hall?
I don't know. I've
You
got to
reread Duncan Egg, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
But okay, so his death was okay. He died how he should have in a way that kind of made sense.
I did not like. I didn't like Barrick's death. The reason being is because they make it seem like he's like this superhuman that can withstand like 20 stabs, and it's like he's not. He's a guy. He's a regular man.
Well,
Who was brought back to life.
He was in armor, and I will say, like, I mean, a lot of those stabs could have been fatal, and like he was like dying as they were going down the hall. I never got the impression, like after he took the first couple, I'm like, oh, he's toast. It's just going to be a matter of like how far can he get, and that's pretty much what we got. I mean, he was running on adrenaline, and
Yeah.
I was okay with that.
But isn't that like kind of a known thing? Is like in battle, people kind of run on adrenaline
Yeah,
for a little while before.
I was fine with that.
So like
part.
that's
it kind of sucked that I figured. See, I thought that it was going to be when Melisandre said, "Oh, it's he served his purpose. Like that's why he was brought back." Like, okay, that's fine. But what I didn't like, I thought like her purpose. I thought Arya's purpose was going to be like almost a Gohan and Cell and Frieza thing, where Jon would be fighting the Night King and Arya would like distract or something. She would do something that would be just enough to distract the Night King, and then Jon would be able to finish him off, which is how Gohan finished off Cell.
No, this is my exact question.
But
Yeah.
but instead, so Theon dies. Theon's death was fine.
You know that's how he was gonna die, though.
Yeah.
The moment Bran's like, Theon's gonna protect me,
he's
it's like, well,
Yeah.
Theon's gonna die, and then somehow
And it's
they're
gonna be
draw
it's a
the Night King
redemption
in.
arc. It's a fine redemption arc. I mean, he it was nice when Bran
He was
told
never
him he's a good
crucial enough
man.
of a character,
No.
or to like, he's not on the level of a Jon or a Daenerys or.
It was his redemption arc.
That was another thing. It was like nobody major, no major players really died.
And I mean, so who's even Jaime, Tyrion? I
I
thought
was-
Jaime
Well,
was a possibility
So here's my question:
for dying.
what the fuck with Melisandre? Like, why did she just basically take off her necklace and die.
She felt she had served her purpose. I mean, she's
she
ancient.
fulfilled what she assumed was the Lord of Light's mission for her.
Yeah.
So there was really nothing else for her to do.
I was okay with that because I felt like there was a little bit of atonement there. I mean, she realized she made horrible mistakes along the way, and she's so old, she's just ready, you know. And right. I always thought that was interesting because she obviously really wanted to know, like, when Jon, you know, she's a little bit afraid of death, even though she has so much faith, because when Jon came back, when she brought Jon back, like, the first thing she asked her is, like, what did you see? Like, what's after? You know, I thought that was interesting. But I thought, honestly, I think of all the deaths, I liked hers. I thought hers was it was almost, very, like, Bushido, like, very, like, she walks out there, takes it off, and just, you know, dies from the elements, you know, almost instantly.
I was really, I was kind of hoping what was going to happen with the crypts was that they were going to do, like, they were going to do a bait and switch thing where you thought Tyrion was going to die to protect Sansa, but it's really Sansa that dies to protect Tyrion. I thought that would have been cool.
Instead, they just didn't do either.
And still they didn't do either. It was like, oh, come on, give me something.
Well, I think, okay, so I really, really, really want, and this might be very naive, and in Game of Thrones it may never happen, I really want Tyrion to have a happy ending. And I think there is some chemistry between Tyrion and Sansa. And I think, like, them settling down together would be really nice, because I think she's grown past I'm not physically attracted to him anymore. Like, she knows he's a good man, you know, deep down, and she sees how he suffered, like they both suffered in very similar ways. And I think, like, that would just be really great if you know, they did get together. People were talking about, like, Theon and Sansa, and I'm like, well, they have more of a brother and sister vibe. Like, he saved her, like, you know, they had their whole redemption arc. But
yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go with it. I've debated, especially after the last episode when they kind of looked at each other. Like, are they going to get together, or are they going to be more like, we're going to treat each other as family? Or
I don't know. Technically, they're still married. I don't know. It would be nice. I mean, obviously, like, Tyrion kind of had a thing for Dany. You could tell a little bit. But, you know, when he saw the disappointment when Jon was there.
I get kind of frustrated with, like, some of the fan servicey stuff because of the whole thing with Tormund and Brienne and, like, Jaime, because my thing is, everyone's like, there's people that are like, oh, who do you think Brienne will end up with, Tormund or Jaime? And I'm like, you know, here's my problem with that whole thing is that Jaime and Brienne have a history.
Right.
Like, there's a history there.
There's a lot there.
There's
Tormund just thinks she's hot.
Tormund just thinks she's hot. And I'm like, he just wants to bang her.
And I think realistically, like, if you look at, like, it makes for funny scenes, and it's kind of cute how he has this massive crush. I get it. But, like, she has not reciprocated that at all. Like, every time she always looks at him with, like, kind of like, no, look. Whereas she idolizes Jaime. Like, even, you know, you can tell after everything that's happened, like, she idolizes Jaime right up there with Renly. You know? And only, you know, Jaime's not gay, so she's got a better shot. No, I think it's been a nice kind of character arc for Jaime, his whole thing with Brienne, how, like, Brienne's example has almost, like, made him into what he's always wanted to be, and, you know, he always wanted to be honorable, and his family and what he had to do, you know, when he was in the Kingsguard to save King's Landing, like, all of these things have been, like, stains on his honor, but she's actually been an example to him of how he can be a better knight, you know. And I think a lot of his decision to make the hard choices and leave King's Landing and, you know, uphold, he's got that thing now where he doesn't break, you know, oaths ever now.
And that's why like, I really like Storm of Swords, not just because, like, so much stuff happens, you know, Joffrey's wedding, the Red Wedding,
right,
all that big stuff happens, but, like, that whole character arc for Jaime in Storm of Swords is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's just a great book.
Like,
Storm of Swords,
the turning point where, you know, they're at the baths at Harrenhal, and he finally tells her the story of why he killed Aerys, and, you know, how basically his finest moment is, like, what everyone considers him to be, a bad guy for.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, he ultimately did a good thing.
Right.
I feel like we're missing someone that died, other than the Night King, but we'll talk about the Night King a little more.
Dude, there was Yora, Liana, Melisandre, Ed.
Maybe that is everyone. I was positive. I was floored that Grey Worm didn't die. I thought Grey Worm was going to have some self-sacrifice when they couldn't get the pit lit. Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to take fire out there and get swarmed, or I don't know, but it amazed me. It subverted my expectations that Grey Worm didn't die in this episode.
The only thing I will say about the battle tactics being as stupid as they are, the one thing I did like is that they had the Unsullied covering the retreat.
The Unsullied,
it's like they're the ones that are afraid of
nothing, and they won't
budge.
That was perfect.
And again, I was like that was like the good part of that battle. They
had the shield wall.
Yeah.
We've got a major problem now though, where like in the trailer, where Daenerys says, "Now we finished the last war," and I was kind of thinking, with what? I mean, some Unsullied survive the battle. No Dothraki, really. Like, no significant number of Dothraki. My only question is, did they think about, like, this would be an interesting reveal, or at least something that wouldn't surprise me, is if they do have troops that they sent away. Like, if they looked at it, because you can't fit, everyone in the north in that castle. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if they kind of thought, okay, here's what we need for this battle plan, this terrible battle plan to draw on the Night King. Like, this is the numbers we need. Mm-hmm. Let's send everyone else south, so that if we win, we have a reserve force. Mm-hmm. And if we lose, these other troops won't make a difference, because if we can't stop them, if we can't get this plan to work with this many men, it's not going to work in this castle.
Right.
I think they're going to almost have to do something like that, because yes, she has 2 dragons. She has most of her advisors, but the troops that were at Winterfell were just obliterated. Like, there's almost no one left alive at the end. So, I mean, you see this, we're now at the part where the fight is starting to happen, like, in the castle walls and in the buildings inside the castle. And when you get to that point, I mean, almost everyone is dead.
Yeah, I thought about that after the episode ended. I just, like...
Where's she going to get troops from?
How are they going to fight the Golden Company?
Right. And now, so that's my one idea, is either they sent the majority of the Dothraki and the Knights of the Vale and a lot of the people from the north, they sent them to the south and just didn't tell us for story's sake. Or, I mean, there could be some parallels to when Aegon originally invaded with his sisters, when they invaded Westeros for the first time, they did not have a lot of troops. And they just kind of, with the dragons, and they won battles, and they said, look, you can bend the knee. But, I mean, the north has been so depleted. By this point, the north's been at war for years, what we would call years. Mm-hmm. The Riverlands are completely decimated. The north is decimated. The Knights of the Vale hadn't been bloodied until this episode, but the show writers keep forgetting about the Knights of the Vale. Because I don't know.
Where were they even in this?
They did show some of the soldiers. They were on foot, that they looked like they were Vale Knights based on, but I don't know if they were Northmen. They've kind of bled them all together. Excuse me. Their leader was talking to Sansa. I mean, Sansa's technically their leader, because he looks at it like all the leaders of the Knights of the Vale seem to look to her like, okay, her aunt was killed, so she's kind of
right.
Although technically it would be her nephew, but they don't respect him, young and sickly, so they just kind of look to her now as their rightful leader. So Sansa, technically, when she's like Lord of the North, she's technically like the North, the Riverlands, and through the Tullys, she's actually the Riverlands too. So she's kind of in a position where she's kind of the ruler of 3 of the 7 kingdoms, although 2 of them, the show has always kind of looked at the Riverlands and the North as like one territory.
Yeah,
because they kind of talk like, and I mean, the Tullys are kind of subject to the Starks, just because the Starks were the wardens of the North.
Right.
And the Riverlands counts as the North, and so does the North, I believe, is the
Riverlands don't really count as the North.
They do when you they do when you look at a warden. So you've got the Warden of the West, who is in a war situation, controls the forces of the West and the Reach. You've got the Warden of the South, who is the Stormlands and Dorne, but Dorne's never like involved because they never send any troops to any wars. You've got the Warden of the East, which is the Crown. The Warden of the East might actually be the Crownlands and the Stormlands, and then the Warden of the North is the Vale, the Riverlands, and the so the Warden puts you above being just like the leader of a region. Like if there's a war, you're technically in charge of like all the troops from that area. So when I say the North, I don't mean like the North. I mean everything north of basically like, you know, the Riverland. So that's why the Tullys were always kind of subjects.
Yeah.
They're like subservient. They rule themselves, but in the event of war, they're technically under the Starks. And same thing with the Vale. I think the Vale might have been the Warden of the East. Now that I think about it, I think the Aarons might have been the Warden of the East. But it's just a sub. It's an honorary thing more than. But when the North went to war in the show and in the books, the Tullys just joined right with them. You know, the Vale only stayed out of it because Jon Arryn was dead. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have joined too. But so what else is there to talk about? There's a lot to unpack in these 3 episodes.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a favorite moment? Or better yet, a least favorite moment?
I think favorite moment might have been, there were a couple. I think it might have been when Dany was talking to Sam, and kind of that whole.
Yeah, that's a good.
You know,
that's a good scene. That's a.
Yeah. Least favorite. I think it would be when either when the Dothraki went out to die for no reason, or here's when Rhaegal crashes. By the way. Or it's not. Is it? It's not Rhaegal. It's the other one's name. I get the dragons confused.
No, he's reading Rhaegal.
It is Rhaegal. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think least favorite might be the Night King's death. That really, and it. I don't know. I thought Jon would be involved more than he was.
Yeah.
I thought. You know, Jon is in there trying to get past the dragon. I don't know. What about you?
I'm fine with Jon not really being involved. I had a feeling from the get-go that they were going to have Arya be the one to kill him. I thought it was cool that they did, that the way that she did kill him, even though she flew out of the darkness from nowhere, that definitely is... but I thought it was cool that she did the knife drop tactic that she's used.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of...
I liked that was the knife that
Bran gave her.
Yeah, that Bran gave her. That was Tyrion's knife, but not really Tyrion's knife. It was really Littlefinger's knife. It's, you know, that knife has been integral from the first couple episodes.
Right. But it's Valyrian steel.
It's Valyrian steel. I thought that was cool.
I guess my question is, what led you to that conclusion that it was going to be Arya? Like, when did you figure that?
Oh, I just had I especially
beginning.
had a feeling that she was going to be the one to kill him when she was asking Gendry to build her that weapon. I thought that weapon might be the one that she used, which actually she didn't end up using.
She didn't end up using it.
That was just
she used it a lot to kill a lot of zombies, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it makes more sense that she uses the Valyrian dagger.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like they were gearing up to have that be the case when she was doing some of that. So
yeah, I mean, it almost seems like they look at it now and they're like, Arya's such a fan favorite, like, and I don't know, this is the question now since we don't have the books. I'm the thing I'm most curious about is how close is this to what's going to happen in the book? Because I never got the feeling that Arya was such a favorite of George R.R. Martin's. He likes the character, you can tell, but Sam and Jon are characters that I always get a feeling that he cares for more the way he writes.
Sam, Jon, and Tyrion.
Sam, Jon, and Tyrion are definitely the big 3. I never got, like, Arya's chapters are fine, but I never read these books and thought Arya's the key.
No, I've always felt like she's going to play an integral role because she's even in the books, she's training to be a faceless man.
I
And
would have
there's
thought.
something that's going to play out with that. She didn't use any faceless man training in this episode, but I still feel like she's still going to do something with that later.
I would have thought it would have. I always thought she was going to be the one to somehow finish off Cersei, or I figured King's Landing was always where her story was going to take her. I never thought she would be this integral to the war in the North.
And that's something that I've thought about too. Is maybe,
but you can't give her all the big kills.
Maybe in the books she's going to give the big kill in King's Landing
Maybe.
rather than at Winterfell.
Isn't there a prophecy that Cersei's brother will kill her, and she's always assumed that it's Tyrion, but I've always thought it would be Jaime.
I always thought it would be Jaime.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
it's probably going to be.
Yeah.
But Arya wants Cersei dead, so
yeah,
I mean, you never know how the show's
Jaime
gonna
has
do
that.
it.
Jaime has that for like almost that's the perfect end to his arc, though. Maybe it's too predictable, but I mean, him killing Cersei is the end of the
I've
arc.
felt that way for a long time. I mean, it's Jaime. Well, you see it in the books, the Storm of Swords thing that we were talking about earlier. You know, he's a good guy. That him and his brother both are decent guys. They just grew up in a shit family, and Cersei especially is a little more. Whoa. What's the best word? Like forward. She's more like
Well, Cersei thinks
forceful in her.
Cersei thinks she's very smart.
expressing
She
herself.
thinks she's the reincarnation of her father.
Oh, I know, but like she's just very forceful in how she expresses things.
Right.
And her brothers are not as much, you know.
Well,
And
because she's
Jaime
always
just-
overcompensating
and Jaime
for being
especially
a
is her
woman.
twin. Like Tyrion.
Yeah.
Tyrion fights back against her because he's the halfling. you
Well,
know?
he's not
So
fucking
she
her
looks-
either. So
Right. She looks at him like, you little maggot.
Well,
you
she
know?
blames him for the death of their mother. Their mother died in childbirth.
Right, but
giving birth to him.
Jaime being her twin and whatever, like he just kind of tagged along with her. Like as they started to unfold some of those events, you could tell, was like starting to have the seeds planted for the idea of maybe how the Lannisters handle things is not the best way of doing it.
Right.
So at that point in time, I started to have a feeling myself of, you gonna be the one to kill Cersei? Because
Yeah, I've felt that way for a long time. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be Jaime.
I-
you know,
And that's the
especially
thing.
because
It has like I've always thought of it.
she keeps manipulating him, and she keeps being like,
Well, and he's
whatever,
finally
you're gonna
done.
do whatever I say anyway
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're my bitch.
Well,
kind of a thing.
even in the books, like Jaime has only ever slept with her. Like he's never been with anybody else. Cersei fucks everybody if it gives her an advantage. Like I don't think she really cares about him the same way he cares about her. And I think he's started to realize that. And like, in the show, he's kind of realized what a monster she is. I thought that the whole point of putting like the iron swords over them, or I thought there was some magic that was supposed to keep these. We're watching the part in the crypts where the zombies come back to life, and I don't know. It bothered me that they had no armed guards in here as a last resort. Anyway,
Hold up. Oh no, at first.
Sure. Are you looking to see whose crypt it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier too.
Because it almost looks like Maester's robes. You know what I mean?
It could be. But I don't think
But
they
they don't
bury
bury.
their maesters down
Do
there.
they
I think
bury
they're-
their
I think
maesters? Because
just-
it's supposed to be just Starks,
just
right?
Starks.
Because look, it looks like a maester, doesn't it?
Well, were there any Starks that were maesters?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I almost wish it would have kind of been cool if they had specifically, poor Ned Stark. He's just a pile of bones. He can't move like all these other ones because
Yeah.
he's in there. He's in there just being like, "Oh man, I can't even break out of my crypt." All right. Well,
But overall, I think my least favorite moment was probably the Night King's death. I thought it was very anticlimactic, and I was like, you beat him?"
I kept wondering what the fuck Bran was doing. Bran goes into his. It's almost like he's bored, so he's gonna fly around.
I have to go now. This battle's too boring.
And
for
I'm
me.
like, what's he doing? He's like playing a cell phone game.
He's like fucking I have to go now. My people need me. And like he just like turns into a fucking raven and flies away. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, we're all gonna die?
No, I was very troubled.
Joke's on you guys. I'm bailing.
Yeah, I was very troubled by that whole thing.
Yeah.
My favorite moment was, I would say my favorite moment of this season so far was probably just that little exchange during this episode with Sansa and Arya, where she hands her the dragon glass knife and she's like, I don't even know what to do with this, and she's like sticking with the pointy end.
Yeah, that was
I was like, that was a good callback, and it wasn't like it wasn't overly like fan servicey. It was just a quick callback to like the first season, when Jon says the same thing to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
She says it to Jon because he's right. Because
he's like, do you know how to use that?
Do you know how to use it? And she says, Ash.
Oh no, yeah, that's he says.
She says, I don't even know how to use it, and he goes,
first lesson sticking with the pointy end. Yeah,
yeah, it was a nice little. She's passing on the knowledge that Jon passed on to her, although there wasn't much.
You know what? She learned more from Jon than Rey learned from Luke.
Oh, way more. That was at least a lesson that was useful.
Yep, we're talking about Star Wars again.
So we can't stay
away.
It
took us an hour, but we got there.
We got there eventually. Hey, I haven't brought up Star Trek yet.
Oh boy.
I can't remember how Dany's surrounded by zombies, and I'm trying to remember how she gets away from the situation. This is where Jorah shows up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, when does Jorah show up? Right then.
Where's Tormund? I forget where he goes.
He's
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of issues with some things.
What was your least favorite?
Overall, I guess it's just how some of the battle tactics played out. I definitely, we discussed those all earlier, but I had a lot of issues with some of that. I definitely felt, and again, like we're painting back half the time Sam's just laying on the ground,
right?
But
I did like
dying.
that moment. I did like that moment.
Like
where
he got saved by
what's his
Dollar's
name?
ad or whatever,
Yeah.
but then he's still laying on the ground half the episode and he doesn't die. Like,
but that was awesome when he was calling for Jon for help and Jon had to just leave him there, and you can see the look. That was good acting. That was well shot. I did like. You can see that Jon didn't want to do it, but there's a bigger thing going on, and it's like, good luck, Sam. Like I can't save you this time.
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. like honestly.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool scene. Obviously Sam wasn't going to die in this episode.
Just like these things right here, like this is, just the way the battle played out. You can.
This is where Ghost should have been, but maybe the CGI would have been too expensive to show. But like Ghost should have been in the Godswood, helping to defend Bran. Hell, Bran could have warged into him.
Well, and that's what
earlier.
I was really hoping was going to happen was like, okay, so I was hoping what was going to happen as the Night King came forward and he like stabs Theon. Theon's like on the ground bleeding to death, and Bran like wargs into Theon. Theon stands up behind him and stabs him. That would have been more. I would have been more satisfied.
That would have been kind of cool
for like Bran to defeat him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Instead Bran did nothing.
We have this like Arya fell from the sky like she was dropped out of a plane. And then he just turns around and catches her. By the way, I'm not sure how much force that would be, but like, I feel like that would hurt a lot more. It would
really hurt.
Maybe
all of Bran's crows grabbed Arya and threw her.
And that was the thing is like I was talking about this with people at work, and people were insistent that no, she put on the face of a zombie, and I was like, I'm sorry, but that's like different kind of magic.
It is. I don't think that would work.
I don't think that would work. They're like a hive mind.
Yeah, I think they would notice that like you're not really dead.
Hey, wait a minute.
You don't belong here at all.
And then somebody else said, "Well, no, she's just really that good. She's that sneaky." I'm like, she is not that sneaky. She's not. I'm sorry. That nobody's that good.
If
they had
been right by the wall and she just hopped down from the wall.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. Is like they were very far from the wall.
Yes.
And then
dozens of yards.
And then other people were like, "Well, I assumed that that Melisandre helped her get there." And I was like, "But how? What did she do? Did she
there's
put
a lot
rockets
of
on
assumptions.
her feet?" Like,
there's a lot of assumptions.
That's a lot of assumptions. And I was like, I said, "What?" And my answer was, "What led you to that conclusion?" And they were like, "Well, I just assumed." And I was like, "But what led you to that conclusion?" Nothing. I was like, So you're just making a wild guess based on nothing. Which is, fine, whatever. But my question
the
is,
writers are doing it.
Which,
so.
exactly, the writers are doing it. They're like, we're just going to have Arya fly out of here.
Here's the 15th time that Brienne and Jaime should have been killed in a fight with Pod.
Oh,
they're literally on a mountain.
There was Tormund.
Okay.
They're literally on a mountain of dead bodies.
Okay, this is
man.
here. I think this is coming up here.
We're
soon.
looking for the shot where Dany throws him in front of
that's
the
what it just
zombie.
looked like to me. And again, I only watched it the one time. It's like coming up right here.
Like,
oh, I mean not right here, but it's coming up soon.
I mean, they
that's
go
that's
back
my
several
least
times.
favorite though. It's just the some of the nonsensical things in this.
I think they thought and maybe for most people it did, but I think they thought the massive amount of spectacle, because there is a lot of spectacle. I mean,
visually it was a very, very cool.
This episode is like a feature film that goes nonstop. It's almost kind of exhausting by the end because there's so much. But I mean, these groups of dead that are just falling on each other, and the dragon that's destroying the castle like it's made out of Play-Doh.
That's another thing that bothered me. So the dragon can take out a fucking wall with its fire, and then Jon hides behind a rock and it can't destroy the rock, and I'm like,
well, the other wall was damaged.
I mean, it has enough power to break through. It just didn't make sense to me.
There's Bran still doing nothing.
Sup, girl?
So
I like how the others. I like how the others are just like, we're just gonna stand here.
This was so dark on my television. I thought where he just walked there, he was actually walking through the gate. No, that was just a tree. Like, they're not even so close to the gate. You can't even see the gate from where Bran is sitting.
Right.
So again, I know we keep coming back to it, but where the fuck did she come from?
She got wings.
I was more surprised than the Night King.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And we'll see where the rest of the season goes. Like I said, what I'm looking forward to is
Sam crying like a little bitch.
Seeing how
sorry.
I like Sam, but
I like Sam.
I'm looking forward to seeing how the Jon and Daenerys and the fighting for the throne between the two of them plays out. Like, I'm assuming Cersei's gonna die.
Well, knowing their characters, there shouldn't be any fighting between the throne because Jon doesn't really care about ruling, and he's never cared. And plus, they're kind of in love, so I figured it's a simple solution. They were probably going to get married anyway.
The Targaryens married their siblings
all the
for
time,
thousands of years.
They're not even siblings; they're farther than that. She's his aunt.
They're
so
aunt and nephew.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they've done incest for a very long time,
right.
So it's not like out of the question.
Yeah,
I'm just curious to see if that. I've thought that could be an option. I've thought that I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see how it plays out. They're probably going to defeat Cersei. Just how is the dust going to settle after that?
I like my idea of an army, like a lot of their forces being sent away to the south.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the show is that smart.
Oh, I
don't know if I'm overthinking it. I don't know if they're going to be like, oh, yeah, no, like 15,000 people survived this fight, even though the whole world is literally just piles of bodies and zombies. I did like, this is the one thing Bran did, is he gave Theon that last little oomph, with you're a good man, which completes his arc, and now he can die.
Yeah.
Good
night. As soon as he said that, I was like, well, bye, Theon.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he was as soon as he said, I'll guard you in the Godswood. I was like, well,
yep,
he's not going to be around for much longer.
I mean, I figured as soon as he told his sister, I want to go fight up there. I was like, well, they're getting rid of him.
Yeah. So.
I liked your idea though. Is she'll come back from the Iron Islands, like she'll come back from Pike with 20,000 soldiers from nowhere, from deserted rocky islands.
That's what I feel like. That's what's going to happen.
Ships.
Like,
we took the Iron Islands.
We went to Pike and we just fucked a lot, and we multiplied and.
Iron Islanders grow to a sexual maturity.
Think about how quickly they built the fleet.
Oh, that was the biggest bullshit moment in the entire show. Build me 10,000 ships,
and they're like,
what?
Beautifully designed ships with like art on them. It's like, whoa!
Just making those sails. That would take, if you had the wood and thousands of men, that would take years and years, like maybe a decade, to build a navy, that large.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said 10,000 ships or 1,000. It really doesn't matter. They're both equally unobtainable.
Well, we'll see what happens, going into the rest of this.
Yeah. Did you ever see a tree on any of those islands? And it makes sense because ship-going peoples like England England completely deforested themselves.
This is like a Dark Souls boss right here with John trying to fight the dragon.
I wondered if he was going to somehow kill the dragon. Like, I was actually curious about that.
Help me.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, Oh, poor Theon.
I don't even care.
You're not even my whole day. Now we're just watching the episode. We've completely gotten off track. We're just watching the end.
Right.
This is only my second time seeing it.
Yeah, this is my second time seeing it. But I just remember looking at that part. I want to see if that's still coming up because, like, yeah, here we go. Like, coming up soon. It almost looked like she, like, threw him in front of her. See, look at that. It almost looked like that. Like,
she kind of got behind him. I don't know if she threw him, but she definitely, like, used him as a human shield. It is his job, though.
I know. But, I mean, I would be a little bit offended. I'd be like, look, I know I swore an oath to defend you, but you don't have to do that. Okay?
Don't micromanage me
right?
as I'm getting stabbed.
Like, yeah.
To trim his nails. I did not notice that before.
Can you imagine? I'm not even gonna say it. I can't say it anymore.
I was always bothered by his armor design, and I wonder if it's because they were just trying to like make it look very primitive because it's been so long since he was created, and they want. But I don't know. I never liked their art design for him. I almost preferred the one that was at the very beginning that was like had the dark hair and looked all like almost muddy, and it looked almost very unhuman.
Yeah.
But they decided to change it, just like they changed the look of the Children of the Forest and made them so much uglier.
Yeah.
And it was a very drastic change, and it was very unnecessary.
God. Look at me, Hector.
It would be great in this moment if the Night King actually spoke and was like,
She
Had said
What is it?
anything.
Hodor. Or something.
I
know what would be
I was
amazing?
hoping that they were gonna have a Hodor zombie.
You
I was really hoping for
what
that.
would be amazing, and they would never do it. A Hodor. Wow, that would have been great. By the way, a Hodor zombie. But if they do a whole episode that's just the Night King's whole story now, and they explain everything, they won't in a million years. But it would be cool to just have a Night King episode where you get his motivation.
Why is it not just breathing fire on him when he's facing it?
I think it was going to eat him.
Oh, maybe. But it doesn't need to eat. Does it?
I kind of got the thing that it was running out of firepower because it seemed to be like making. Where did she come from?
I don't get it. I don't understand. And you know what? I know that she did this kind of a cool move here, but it just makes me think of The Last Jedi, and it just brings me out of it so bad.
Oh my god. It is very similar. The drop. That's in vogue. The drop your sword and catch it with another hand.
Yeah. Oh.
This was always.
The dragon's malfunctioning.
This was always a little bit cheap too. The fact that okay, if we kill the boss, everyone else dies. I mean, I understand there's no other way they could do it, like from a storytelling point of view, but well, that's pretty much the end of the episode.
Yeah, we talked about it the whole time.
We talked, yeah, basically, this is almost basically a commentary track. We might have to label this one as just a commentary track.
Well, we talked about the other season, or the other episodes.
We did, but we got distracted a lot by what was going on.
We certainly did. All right, well, that pretty much wraps up this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and
we'll be coming back with one for Endgame.
Yes.
Probably a day or two after this one releases.
Wonderful.